By saying these words, I summon the power of news! Techlinked!
Wow.
It's funny, I don't really feel any different.
Yeah, no, I don't think you said it right.
But what is different is the number of flagship graphics cards there are on the market today. Yep, AMD launched the Radeon 7 yesterday at the same price as Nvidia's RTX 2080. $699 USD, and well, they probably should have made it a little cheaper. You can watch my full review over on Linus Tech Tips, but the basic gist of it is that AMD had some extra room to work with thanks to the 7nm process that the Radeon 7 is built on. And rather than using it for cost savings or power savings, they boosted the clock speeds and added a butt ton of video memory. So the new card trades blows with the RTX 2080, but it's kind of a hard sell because of the extra features on Nvidia's RTX platform, however you do or don't feel about real-time ray tracing. Now we'll have to wait and see if there are any more developments on the Radeon side, but with board partners telling Kit Guru that they have no plans for custom Radeon 7 cards, and a report claiming that we won't see next-gen Navi cards from AMD until October, we might be waiting for a while. I mean, that's just fine because I'm gonna be gaming on my Xbox anyway, thank you very much.
Whoa, what?
Now, we're all somewhat used to the idea by now that we're being tracked in various ways by the apps on our phones. But a report from TechCrunch has blown the whistle on a bunch of companies whose apps straight up capture screen recordings of users' iPhones. Hotels.com, Singapore Airlines, and Abercrombie & Fitch, no, not Abercrombie & Fitch, are among the companies that worked with a firm called Glassbox to enable session replays, which would screenshot user actions in-app, then send that data back to the app developers. Now, some of these session replays weren't properly masked, which means that personal information like passport, remember this is hotels.com, and credit card numbers, and not Abercrombie & Fitch, were exposed. Now, in response to the report, Apple has begun telling developers that if their app uses screen recording tech, they must disclose that detail to users or remove the feature. And by the way, they have 1 day to get their crap sorted out. So I guess iPhone users will have to start double checking whether their apps are recording their activity. On Android, we have it much better. We can just assume that it's on all the time.
We're being tracked, yeah.
Chinese telecoms giant Huawei is trying its darndest to defend itself against suspicions from Western nations about the possibility that the company puts backdoors into its networking equipment that could be exploited by the Chinese government. Huawei has now said that it will accept supervision of its equipment and activities by the European Union if it would be allowed to build 5G infrastructure there. The company even wrote an open letter promising the UK that it would set aside £1.5 billion or $2 billion to address any security concerns in its network systems. The UK is set to rule in March or April on whether to include Huawei in its 5G rollout, and other Western nations are also busy considering the Huawei problem. A situation made more complex by a statement from the US envoy to the EU claiming that any country that partners with Huawei in rolling out network infrastructure would necessarily lose some portion of America's trust. And the crazy thing is that all of this is without there actually being any public evidence that Huawei actually has backdoors in their equipment. But you know what they say. Better safe than sorry, which is why AT&T is just calling their existing 4G networks 5G.
Yeah.
I mean, the icon, that's all that matters.
We don't need actual 5G.
Now it's time for Nibbity Bibbities, brought to you by Vincero Watches. Vincero makes luxury timepieces that are designed to help you stand out and up your fashion game at an accessible price. Because they sell directly to you, the consumer, and cut out the middleman, you'll get the look and feel of a watch that might cost 10 times the price elsewhere. With free worldwide shipping and over 13,000 5-star customer reviews, you'll be sure to be a winner with Vincero. Check out their site now and use offer code TECHLINKED to get 15% off your entire order. So that's vincerowatches.com/techlinked. I got it linked below. On to the Bibbidi Nibbities! Apple has finally fixed a flaw in group FaceTime that allowed users to listen in on call recipients before they even picked up. The company was criticized for leaving the flaw unaddressed for a week after a 14-year-old discovered it and had his mom tweet Apple about it. Now, Apple has said that the teenager will be compensated for his discovery under the iOS Bug Bounty program, so the next time you want to angrily tweet about a broken feature to a tech company, don't hesitate. You're helping. It's a good thing.
Nice job.
Last month, Motherboard reported on ISPs selling their users' real-time location data to all manner of other companies. And those ISPs responded by claiming, well, that only happened in isolated incidents. As it turns out though, the practice is way more widespread than initially thought, with a new report claiming that around 250 companies, including bounty hunters, purchased ISP tracking data tens of thousands of times between 2012 and 2017. Bounty hunters?
Yeah.
Really?
Boba Fett knows where you are.
So it looks like VPNs and secure DNS services are more necessary than ever. I mean, there isn't even a joke about this.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sad.
that's terrible. Speaking of terrible, Google has announced a new method of encryption called ADAMANTIUM for low-powered devices like smartwatches and Android Go phones. Okay, that's not a great segue. This doesn't seem terrible at all. Normal encryption methods would usually bring a performance penalty to your phone processor. So ADAMANTIUM would make the process much more efficient for phones that are powered by lower tier CPUs. But the real question here is, does it strengthen your phone's skeleton, making it nigh indestructible?
No. Maybe that's coming in an update.
It sounds like it would do that.
Yeah.
You got the Apple Metal API, and then you got the Google ADAMANTIUM.
Yeah, it's a little misleading.
Speaking of misleading, AT&T is displaying a 5G-E on their phones that are connected to the company's 5G evolution network, and that's misleading. So Sprint is suing AT&T for misleading advertising, claiming that calling 4G 5G confuses the public and damages the reputation of actual 5G. AT&T actually responded, basically saying, no, everyone knows that 5G evolution means it's 4G that's evolving to get closer to 5G. So are you freaking kidding me?
Obviously.
Are they trying to be evil?
It's right there in the name.
And we all thought Google Fiber was the future, but Google apparently doesn't see a future in Louisville, Kentucky. The project is pulling out of the city after failing to effectively lay cable in shallow trenches called nano trenches. Google Fiber users in the city now have 2 months to find an alternative solution before their service will be cut off. Google says they could fix the problems, but, and this is a quote, that's just not the right business decision for us. Which is what I think I'm gonna start saying when I don't wanna go to like awkward social gatherings.
Oh, is that why you didn't come to my party?
No, but it might be why I don't go to my mother's this weekend.
Oh.
And we're done here. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if you want to, and don't if that's the way you wanna live your life. I'm not gonna tell you what to do.
Oh.
Yes, I will. Subscribe. I can tell them what to do.
Oh, okay.
They subscribe.
Oh, that's not nice.
It is nice. It's nice to me to subscribe. Yeah, to me. Just kidding, Mom. I'll be there. It's a birthday party.